Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I don't know what's gotten into my wife. When we met, I was still married to my ex-wife. I'm not proud about it, but when my wife started at our job and we slept together after a party, this was about 6 years ago. My ex found out when she saw her photos on my phone. It broke her and ended our marriage. I married my wife a year later. Everything was fine, and my children gradually forgave me, and much of it was thanks to my ex, who insisted that I was still their father and that I loved my children. They never liked my wife, however, because they've overheard her, my daughter did, talking badly about how fat and old their mother was, and how she was no competition. Now, my ex is happily engaged to a man who is very well off. My wife was depressed ever since she heard that, making comments about what he sees in her and how it wouldn't last. She has Googled everything about him, his net worth, property, social media accounts, and she doesn't stop talking about him. I got very wary, and this last week she's been extra depressed and angry, not sleeping, and she cried several times. When she was finally taking a nap, I took her phone and saw that she has sent the new fiancé some flirtatious texts via Instagram, and even one photo of her. He only answered the first DMs when she introduced herself, congratulated him about the engagement, and told him that they were basically a family soon. When she was getting more flirtatious, he stopped answering, and her DMs were left unseen. This was last week. The pictures. I called my ex-wife, and she confirmed that her fiancé has been receiving these texts, and they were embarrassed and unsure what to do, so they ignored her. I confronted my wife, and she became very angry, saying that I have embarrassed her by talking to my ex. She was crying when I told her that my ex was the one who suggested that they just ignore her and not say anything. Isn't that better for her? She admitted that she sent these, but it was just because she felt my ex was a BITC, that didn't deserve a fiancé like hers with lots of money. My ex-wife would be living in a 19th century penthouse. She also told me that I was the one who had driven her to this, since she never felt she's won me completely. That I married her after my divorce was a fact that I made her insecure. I don't understand. I thought we were happy, that she was happy. She always told me how she loved me. I feel guilty, like I have made her miserable and drove her to be this insecure. But at the same time, I'm very pissed. I just love a good karma story. That's really hilarious, though. OP's ex-wife sounds like a much better person than OP's current wife, and I'm glad she upgraded when OP decided to downgrade. OP's wife is a homewrecker and will continue to go after big and richer fish. What's there even to think about? She not only strayed on OP, she tried to break up OP's ex. And she never wanted OP. She wanted to win. Sociopaths get pleasure from causing destruction in people's lives. Not even people they know, just people who may seem happy. They are the women and men who encourage a faithful spouse to cheat once they begin a friendship or relationship with somebody, and aspects of their life will be destroyed. It's purposefully done. She hates that OP's ex-wife is happy because she is lost. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Kitty Tigress says, "So your mistress is upset that she bet on the wrong horse and has serious regrets. I'd re-examine the entire relationship once I find that she DM'd the new fiancé with her photos. Honestly, I'd probably tell her to pack up and leave, and then apologize to my ex-wife for her behavior and wish my ex well." BX293A says, quote, "That I married her after my divorce was a fact, that I made her insecure." End quote. Did she expect you to marry her before you were divorced? That would be quite a feat. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Your wife has no issue with chasing after taken men, and having chased and got you sounds like she's gearing up for a new chase. Given how nuts your wife is and how graceful your ex-wife has been, it seems like you made a really major error with that downgrade. Cynical Recidivist says, "Well, you gave up a lovely woman for what? Sounds like you gained a narcissist who will do anything to win. One who sees competition in everything. One who is bitter, jealous, and cruel even in victory. She was crowing over how she won you from your ex-wife by denigrating your ex, no doubt within earshot of your kids multiple times. But now your ex has found a millionaire and your wife is green with envy. She doesn't love you. She just wants the prize of winning and the money. The fact that she sent nudes to a ducking stranger she's not even spoke to tried to disrupt your ex's life. She doesn't even like or know the dude on a personal level. She just wants to win and doesn't care for anyone or anything but herself. She doesn't care about you or your kids, and she hates your ex for literally no reason. Wow, OP, you have got a real peach there. You said you thought she was happy, but you ignored how utterly cruel she was to a woman she totally wronged, who had shown you both nothing but grace. Did you not see her for what she was at all? And why did you overlook her saying such vicious and vile things about your ex when you know they were totally unwarranted? I'm sure there were other red flags from your wife that you either ignored or didn't really think about. You picked the wrong one. My husband and I lived together for 12 years before getting married. We both worked lower-income jobs, making around $40,000 a year each, living in the expensive state of California. He had a couple of bad experiences dating women who he said wanted him to support them. So we agreed to always split expenses 50-50 and to never share finances. We lived quite happily and rented properties for most of our relationship, splitting the rent, gas, internet, etc., my share of which came to around $1,200. We kept our bank accounts separate and even went so far as to grocery shop for our own items separately. We lived modestly and never had much money, but I felt proud we were avoiding the petty squabbles over money most of our friends seemed to have. I worked hard and eventually got a better job and a near-perfect credit score. Life was good. When we got married 6 years ago, my husband asked me to sign an extensive prenup, stating that if we ever broke up, we'd leave with only what we'd personally purchased during the relationship. I was fine with that. In fact, I thought it was very sensible. The bombshell. Life changed dramatically 4 years ago when his mother passed away unexpectedly after a short illness. His father died when he was young. His mother had a nice house, which my husband sold and split the money with his older sister. He used the money to buy us our first house, saying that maybe if his finances worked out, I wouldn't have to pay rent anymore. He put the deed in his name in accordance with the prenup. Then came the bombshell. His mother ran a small business on an unusually large lot, which I always assumed she rented. After she passed, I found out that not only did she own the building and the lot, but it was next to an upscale Hilton property that was desperate to expand. The hotel chain offered a premium for the property. After the sale, my husband and his sister walked away with a cool $8 million each. We moved into our fancy new house, and as the first of the month approached, I, foolishly, assumed that my bill would be smaller now that we had no more rent to pay. But instead, my husband told me that due to higher utilities and property taxes, my payment to him each month would now be higher, to the tune of $1,800 a month. This is below average rent price in our area. Believe me, I did my research after our discussion. So I kind of shrugged and accepted this. After all, I was now making $80,000 a year and could afford it. I thought nothing more of it until virus hit. Suddenly, we were both home all day, every day. Working remotely, I got to see firsthand how my husband spends his days. He rarely rises before 11 a.m. Then after a round of golf at the nearby course, he comes home, cooks a leisurely lunch, and spends his afternoon watching sports on TV. He is constantly and loudly on the phone with his guy friends planning elaborate weekend trips away boating, and goes on week-long getaways with a number of other richer retirees from our friend circle every few months. In short, he's enjoying his retirement. But he's just left one thing out: his wife. What to do? I've tried so hard over the years to be a good partner. I want our marriage to work, but I'm at a loss over how to process my feelings about this. I feel misled over the purchase of our house. I also feel like an idiot for not insisting I was added to the deed before my husband purchased it. I'm also unable to see how he can come home from each fun boating trip to find his wife in a dark room by herself, bent over a laptop working, and not think there's anything wrong with the situation. I've shared the above with several close friends who told me to just confront him about all of this. But I have this, likely dumb, sense of pride about all of this. I feel like if he wanted to share his retirement with me, he would have already done so. It's something that an equal partner would have freely given. The fact I have to ask makes me feel like things are already over between us. I guess my biggest fear is that once I've brought up the subject, I can't put the cat back in the box, and he'll think I just want his money, and it will cause us to break up. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. I've loved him for over a decade, and when we were both broke. To be honest, I just want back the life we had before he inherited all this money. We were so happy, and now he's the only one left in this relationship who's happy. I don't know what to do. Should I leave him and look for a more equal partner and keep my pride intact? Or should I see if we can work out some kind of deal and risk losing him by just asking? Thank you so much for reading this far. Grateful for any and all advice and perspectives. I would honestly just stop paying this so-called rent. If he is so desperate for it, he is willing to divorce me. Well, there's my answer. He doesn't love me at all. It's not looking good for OP. He treats OP like someone who doesn't love her, in my opinion. I would never treat a person I love this way, as I would like to share and enjoy my life with that person. A husband would want to share a magnificent life with his wife. He would want her to be able to retire and take her on wonderful trips. He would want to share his windfall and make joint decisions on how to proceed with life together. So OP's husband sounds more of a roommate than a husband. And now let's see if the community has the same opinion as me. Wrath of Frock says, I mean, I can see him keeping his assets since you guys signed a prenup, and it made a lot of sense. Charging your wife rent because you paid for a house in cash is kinda ducked in my opinion. I wouldn't charge my wife rent. I can see you still working because you're 47 and have no kids, so why not? But it should be your choice. Your husband is having his cake and eating it too, in my opinion. Turtle Duck 4 says, I'm sorry, this marriage doesn't seem like a partnership, in the sense that it seems as if he is out for himself and himself alone. Why wouldn't he want to not charge you rent so you could cut back hours and spend more time with him? Have you two discussed counseling? I cannot imagine having this conversation with him without a trained third party there, given his past and how he clearly will see you as only after his money. Nazaraz says, 3 months ago, I was well off when I met my wife. On the day we got married, I gave her equal access to everything. Had I not done that, I would be forever uncomfortable with the power dynamic. In the 11 years we have been married, she's been nothing but respectful and responsible with our money. People here give me crap all the time when I talk about my decision, but it was mine to make. I'm absolutely comfortable with it. For the record, my wife didn't actually know how well I was doing when we got married. She never asked, and I didn't live rich. I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy who was driving a truck at the time. I made my money in the software industry and retired a few years after we were married. I'll try to keep the background brief, but it's complicated. My parents divorced when I was 3. My dad remarried a woman who had a daughter called Lily, the stepsister in this post, and she was 4 at the time. Lily and I never got along. Her mom and my dad got divorced when I was 10, but my dad still had visitation with Lily because her bio dad was not in the picture and he'd been filling that role. My dad remarried a year later, and his wife came with a son, Max, who was 14 at the time. I adored Max from day one, and he thought I was incredibly annoying, but he did make an effort to be nice to me and play with me sometimes. Over the next couple of years, we became close. We had similar mental health issues and bonded over that, which is not a great reason to be close with someone, but it seemed like no one else understood. Lily hated that we were close. Neither of us were close to her, and she couldn't stand it. When I was 14, she made up a lie that Max and I were dating and told my dad and Max's mom. They both believed the lie, and it ended their marriage. Max and I were also banned from seeing each other, and both of our relationships with my dad were ruined. I barely spoke to my dad for years afterwards. Late last year, I had dinner with my dad, where once again I told him Lily had lied. This time, when he asked her, she admitted it apparently. He has been trying to get back in good graces ever since. He's offered to go to therapy with me, buy me a house, anything under the sun. He and Max are on their way to mending the relationship, but I'm holding out. He asked me what he could do to make it right, and I said he had to cut off Lily. I can't have him in my life knowing she's in his, after she destroyed so much in my life. The time after her lie was hell. I didn't expect my dad to agree, but he did. Ever since, Lily has been contacting me every way possible. She alternates between begging me to reconsider and calling me evil for taking her dad away. I had contact with her once to tell her this is what she deserved, and she ruined several people's lives over jealousy of a man who dropped her like a stone. I still get some of her messages on various platforms, and it really does seem like she's struggling with what she did and the consequences. But despite various people telling me it was cruel to tell my dad to cut her off, I can't bring myself to feel bad. Am I the a-hole? Trell's Yeah says, not the a-hole. She was only sorry after it had consequences for her. I'd leave it this way. Your dad was an idiot for remarrying that fast after breakups and bringing new kids into a complicated family situation as well. You are totally in the right, and I would never let such a snake back into my life and would keep it as a condition for your dad being in your life that he should have no contact with her. Nervous Drawer says, oh honey, your situation is like a soap opera and you're the star. Lily's little drama bomb exploded in your life, and now you're the one holding the script. You told your dad to cut her off, and he actually did? Someone get you a director's chair because you're running the show. Lily's blowing up your phone with messages? Girl, she's like a clingy ex who can't take a hint. Maybe she needs an acting coach because that guilt trip routine isn't winning any awards. You laid down the law and set the stage for some serious family dynamics. Not the a-hole. Darling, you're just asserting your diva status in this messy plot. Keep those boundaries high and your sass higher. OK Reply says, not the a-hole. You shouldn't feel bad. Let her deal with the consequences and block her. Those people's stepsisters weren't the ones who did this, so their opinion doesn't matter. He cuts off the person who ruined the relationship, or it won't work. That's simple. He shouldn't even be forgiven because he believed it blindly.